welcome to Through My Lens. This is a lifestyle channel about all things faith, family, and healing. And if you are new to this channel, my name is Uzamani Khawagopita. Thank you for taking a minute out of your day, your morning, your evening. Listen, it does not matter where you are or what time you're watching this channel. What is most important is the fact that you are here. And I hope that by the end of this, episode, you will feel compelled to like, to comment, and to subscribe. And remember to share a link of this episode with those around you. The idea behind this channel is to grow a community of people who we can collectively unpack what it looks like to go through a journey of health, healing, faith, family, etc., etc. So when I was preparing for this episode, I really struggled with how to locate what I'm about to talk about. And really, just in hindsight, I think it really is a summary of testament of faith. It is a summary and testament of family. It is also a summary and a testament of healing. So I want to talk about a project of mine that I started in 2018. So in 2018, I was doing my honors at the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, South Africa. At the time, I was also a student leader. I was first an academic officer of the Witwatersrand SRC, and then I became the deputy president of the Wits SRC. And in this year, I started a company called Ideas That Walk. It is a social enterprise, and because we are in 2026, we are now on our 8th year of existence since its foundation. And I really just wanted to have a conversation or reflection on that journey and to perhaps introduce to you ITW. This is what we call it in short. Who we are, what we do, why do we do it, and why it matters to you. So Ideas That Walk, was a project that I founded because I really reflected on my journey as a young person and how in every sector of life that I've ever existed in, I was in a place of leadership. I'm talking about primary, high school, university, and just life in community. I've always found myself in spaces where I had some kind of leadership responsibility. At some point, I was the junior city council mayor when I was in high school. I was at SRC. I think it was called an RCL in high school, and as I've mentioned, SRC at WITS. And I've led in one way or another, and I thought, let me start some kind of organization that reflects on leadership within the African context. So ITW was founded because I really wanted to create a model of what leadership would look like in the African context. So the tagline of the company is that we get the leaders we deserve because they come from our communities. And what we do is we go throughout the country and outside of the country, and we sort of interrogate this tagline to sort of put a message across, or challenge this idea of what is appropriate leadership, what is not. And we tend to start sessions by asking questions like, was so-and-so a good leader? So we look at different cases in terms of leaders across not only the continent but the globe, and the kind of leadership capacity that they had, and what qualified them to be considered good leaders and what disqualified them and made people consider them to be bad leaders. And what you will find at the end of our conversation is we are trying to build, young people in particular who have, a refined kind of lens that they view leadership from, where they're able to say that, three things that we focus on is on context, community, and culture. So we say that leadership needs to be considered within a context, right? And we also say that it's also important that we look at the culture of the time, and that calls for a particular leadership. And over and above that, we also try and ensure that we bring in a model that encourages community, where we say, look at the culture, look at the context, look at the community. What kind of leaders are coming out of this community? What culture do they come from? And what is the context? Are we in 2026? Are we in 2000? Are we in 1950? Are we in 1994? And then based on that, we then build arguments around leadership. At the core of it is we focus on two aspects of leadership: personal leadership and collective leadership. And then we have a course that focuses on the wellness of leaders. So our emphasis is that you, one, need to have a vision as a personal leader, and number two, you need to have a vision for collective leadership. What does that look like? And lastly, if a leader does not take care of their mental health and their wellness, what confidence can we have in their capacity to lead us as a collective? And so what we try to do when we go into the sessions is to bring this as an emphasis. So that's the hub, that's a part of ITW. So that is the core project and the core existence of, my 8-year-old baby. Now, I've titled this episode Seasons, Pivots, and, just evolution. And, initially I really wanted to go out and make sure that it reaches as many people as it can, but I really got a whole lot of hurdles in the journey. One, I developed the manual. I sent it to so many people whose views, were quite important to me at the time. Like the leadership at WITS, so, the chancellors, the dean of my faculty, the registrar at the time. And I was just wanting to get insights from them in terms of just the depth of the content. I also sent it to, people who then informed part of the staff or the team of ITW who were in different industries. So I have a good friend of mine who's a doctor, and when it came to the mental health stuff, I really relied a lot on what he understands, just from a chemical point of view and just from a biological physio kind of aspect of mental health. And then I interrogated using case studies of my lived experience as a leader from a personal and a collective, what worked, what didn't work. And then, we gave life to this manual. And then I wanted it to go out and get CETA accredited and so many other things that I really envisioned for it. And I got a whole lot of, I don't know what you call it, trying to be politically correct, but I got a whole lot of, I don't know, is it red tape maybe, but I was not successful in having it, accredited, and so it meant that I'm sitting with this document, and I got quite discouraged, and, in trying to find ways to fund the hub and in trying to find ways to, make sure that the dream and the purpose does not die, we then expanded the purposes and the function of the hub still in 2018. And we have 3 other, focuses. So we have something called Zeal PR, and under Zeal PR, so my background is in media and journalism, and I am, professionally a communications, consultant. And so I thought maybe if I put in a whole lot of PR work, I would then raise funds to be able to fund the hub, which is really the main heart of why I founded the company. And so for the last, I don't know, maybe 8 years, I can say, I guess, or maybe 6 years, I really have been focusing a lot on Zeal, and it has really been instrumental in just my development personally, and also just getting word out in terms of the company. We have had many successful opportunities to partner with individuals and organizations to provide them with public relations, communications, services. We also found a niche for us. So the niche was advocacy comms. So a lot of the work that we do in communication has to do with, CSI projects, people-centered initiatives, impact-based kind of content and communication services. And, this essentially took over really and became almost like my 9 to 5. And that's what I've been doing for a very long time. But outside of Zeal PR, I also founded other elements of the company called, there's the podcast and video content, and then there is an events section. And at some point we also had catering. What we did is we looked at who's in the company, what skills do you have, and how can we harness these to sort of build something that can, at the end of the day, support the hub. So the baby really was the hub, but we had all these other projects, which in terms of my vision, they tied in together, but they were, individual entities, because of course, if you talk about podcast and the leadership training are 2 different things, but they can be used together, So we have a podcast series one is called Breaking Bread, and the idea behind Breaking Bread is to literally bring to the room individuals who can share what's going on in the industries and how others can learn from it. So the idea behind it is to also give or bridge an information gap that sometimes exists between people who are in industry and those who are aspiring. And then we have something called Black Girl Breathe. And this really is, paying homage to particularly Black women and allies, to give them a space to be able to come in and gather and have conversations about what it means to to be black and to be women in South Africa and the country and in the world. And I mention allies to say also people who work with and are in the business of empowering and encouraging black women in particular. And the reason I focus on them is historically, when we look at colonialism, apartheid, most systems were positioned in such a way that black women were disempowered, right? And right above that, of course, was black men. Just talking in terms of what we come from and how that has sort of impacted who we are right now as a country and as a global community. So I wanted to really pay homage to that. And I won't really go into the deco stuff and the catering elements of it. I don't think it's quite important in terms of the conversation that I want us to have today. But why am I bringing it to your attention and why does it matter? So at the beginning of the year, when I was fasting, I sat and literally on the very first day of the fast, and God is just so kind and He's so, I really appreciate how direct He can be with me. He really gave me quite clear instructions in terms of stuff that He wants me to do at the beginning of this year. So I was reflecting on the fact that when it comes to just marketing my company, and I had this conversation with, a colleague and a business associate of mine about the fact that I'm really good at selling campaigns and ideas and marketing brands for individuals and organizations, things that are trended, things that continue to have a lifespan of themselves. And yet I have a company that I founded 8 years ago, but not a lot of people know about it. They know about me, they know about elements of the work, but they don't really know the life of this baby of mine. And it is from there that I draw everything that I do and share with the world anyway. And I reflected on the fact that I just feel like I was a bit fearful or maybe undercapacitated to really take on all of it. And a lot of times I was the vision bearer, also the implementer, also looking for work, also negotiating contracts, also onboarding people. It's a lot, okay? That's like work for at least maybe 3-4 people who are aligned. And that's, I guess, the story with many startups. You start there where you know what you want to do and how to get it out there. And then you work your way in trying to get the right people to partner with your goal. So number 1, it was a fear thing. 2, it was an incapacity thing. And 3, I think it was just discouragement based on the fact that I knocked at a few doors and I was just getting no's, right? And then I feel like now I'm in a position where I've been so fortunate to be employed in the seasons that I was employed, and perhaps in another episode we'll talk about times when I did not have work and what that meant for me, my family, and my faith. But in the times that I have had work, there's been individuals who really trusted and believed in what I did in my personal capacity to the point of being able to support me in trying to push this through my business. So I have maybe the last, excluding 2026, maybe the last 3 years, been really fortunate enough to work with organizations such as the United Nations in South Africa, the developmental program, working with NGOs such as Sonke Gender Justice Action Aid, Activate Change Drivers, working with individuals, different, public figures like Dr. J. Mufokeng, David Kau, Kabel Mabalane, the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and many other entities who have really given me an ear and entrusted me or partnered with, campaigns that I was a part of because, they trusted the work or they, wanted to plant into it. And I'm all the more better because of those contributions. So just as I went into the year, I wanted to sort of make sure that right at the beginning, I reintroduce ITW and I try get to a point where the business has a bigger voice than me. And you guys are able to relate to it and to partner with it. Sometimes we, depending on projects or opportunities that we get opportunities to partner with other young people and support what they are doing. We hire photographers, videographers, strategists, writers, etc., etc. There's also been a lot of lessons on things that we've done right in the last 8 years and things that we've not done right in the last 8 years. And we've not been, in business for 8 years. I'd be lying. It was registered in 2018 and then it was dormant for some time, and then, it would get live and then it would go down, etc. But now I feel like ahead of, the decade of the existence of the company, which will be in 2 years' time, it felt like a right time to reintroduce the company, to also give it a bit more meat and structure, and to also show you guys what we have to offer and how you can partner with it and what we are getting up to in the year. So right at the beginning of the year, as I was saying, God gave me instructions clearly in terms of certain things that I need to do, and I started something called the Go Series. I literally sat on the 1st of January, I'm not joking, and there was just everything that was almost being, this will sound weird to you if you're not like a God person, but stay with me, okay? Stay with me. But there was just instructions or like directive that I got in terms of elements that I need to incorporate into the beginning of the year that in one way or another will sort of help bring a lift to the company, for lack of a better word. I don't know if I'm saying too much, but yeah, so we started something called the Go Series. And in the Go Series, we have different events that we are doing every single month from January to December. In January, we were doing something called a First Fruits Fast. So every Friday, we've been fasting as a community. In February, there's something called Vision Board Thursdays. So we'll be meeting every Thursday for allocated Thursdays to talk about vision boards. And we're not talking about plans. We're not talking about New Year's resolutions. We're talking about creating a vision that will outlive your lifetime and what that looks like and how you can do that. And number 3, so January, February, March, we're just taking time to reflect, and then in April we're talking about all things Passover. May is a focus on Africa. So there's a scripture in Jeremiah that talks about pray for your city, for as it prospers, so will you. There's an understanding that I have from a business, faith, and a personal point of view that the growth or the advancement of me in my personal capacity is not an isolated thing from where I am. I am affected by the things that happen in South Africa, that happen in Africa, as anybody else, and so is the business. So it becomes a responsibility of me as a believer to pray and to also become life into those areas. So in May, we're focusing on praying for the continent. And then in June, we're really talking all things young people. You would know the context from South Africa, June 16, and I think we're in the 50th year now, 1976, if my math is correct. And then July is all about giving back. So we will be in different communities in July, just giving back, just in uniform with what we all know July in the South African context to be about Nelson Mandela and giving back. Then August is about focusing on women, so we'll be meeting as women and just unpacking what that looks like. And then September, I can't remember, guys, but it's on my website, and maybe I'll share some kind of link in the bio. I know October we're looking at men and their wellness, October or November, and then we'll close off the year with a reflection. So those are some of the stuff that you can anticipate from the Go Series. What I am doing is just inviting you to perhaps follow the company on its digital platforms, but also engage with the work. At times we have opportunities for young people, but we are also looking for a place where we can create a platform to not only give work, but to receive work through your referrals and your partnerships. And we can continue this vision of advancing not only our country, but our continent and our world into being, the kind of country, the kind of world that we can all resonate with. And it all started with, a case study of one black girl from the Eastern Cape who just had a big mouth and would like to speak, and she was always in leadership, and she grew this passion, and she could identify things that make good leaders and things that don't, and lessons that anyone can benefit from. And then, this is how this baby was born, and I'm now presenting it to you. And it is really an open call to partner with this. Owning a business is a whole lot of faith work. It's a whole lot of planning. There's elements that you just realize your incapacity and how you need other people. You need their opinions, you need their contributions. And what I love about running a business is just the economy of it and the amount of people who get to benefit. If you're doing an event, you need sound, you need lighting rather. You need catering, you need a speaker, you need an audience, you need merchandise. 7, 8, 9, 10 people get to benefit from your budget, and we build something worthwhile. And so this is what wakes me up every morning. This is the essence of my why, and I am inviting you into the how. So I hope you really enjoyed this, and we will partner soon. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, remember to like, comment, subscribe.